Good afternoon, welcome back to the session, food tech session now of IMS and LUP. This session, we really deliberate on technologies that are available right now, advanced technologies, because lower level technology people know, but still it is valid. Still it is valid, as some speakers told in the morning. Making a tomato, dried tomato circles is more profitable than making a very hi-fi product from tomato. That's true to certain extent. Similarly, there are many commodities. Agriculture, Indian agriculture has so many commodities, wide range of commodities, because we have so many agroclimatic zones. So you name it, we have it in this country. So it is not possible to cover in one session everything. What I am trying to say, I thought I am a third or fourth speaker. I wanted to restrict to some small field of engineering side only. But now I understand I have to do something more than that. I am actually Dr. Palani Muthu. I am a head of the special officer, basically like a dean in College of Agriculture Engineering, and heading the Agriculture Engineering division also. And worked most of my life on post-harvest process and engineering, developing machinery. And that I will show at the end what are the machineries which we have developed for the farming community. And we started long back on millets. Probably one of the pioneering work we did in about 15 years back on millets, started on millets, mostly on machinery part side. And some product development side also. We have another speaker. She is very good in product development from millets. Current scenario, if you could really have a look at this slide, we have a food processing industry about $258 billion. I could have very easily given in rupees, but our rupee we never know. When I go for the next presentation, our rupee drops down by 10%. So the value of our money is going continuously down. So I put it in the dollar terms. $258 billion in 2015. See the current picture. $482 billion food industry. Is a very huge, real. And then just the packaging industry alone from 2015, 12 to $18 billion. No, that means a lot of packaging products are coming to the market. And if you see the overall picture of agro commodities in food processing sector, about 7% of the produce is processed. Some of the commodities has definitely have to be processed, like say wheat. We have to process, we have to mill it, otherwise you cannot eat it. And rice, almost everything is processed, 100% processed. Whereas if we go to fruits and vegetables, hardly about 2%. We are nowhere. You see, Malaysia, neighboring country, they were also developing country earlier, and they were processing nearly 85% of their commodity. And already our coordinator, moderator told lot of wastages. In fact, that study was conducted by our All India Coordinated Research Project on Post-Harvest Engineering and Technology, headquartered in Ludhiana, CFET Ludhiana, ICR institution. And about 30 centers participated in estimating post-harvest losses. In 2012 terms, 12 to 14, at that time, the estimated loss was 98,000 crores. In the 45 commodities which we have tested for 3 years, studied in every possible channel of losses. No, that has to be reduced. Otherwise, if you whatever is produced, if we can save, you can feed more mouths. That is the idea behind it. And we have certainly reduced the post-harvest losses down the line for last 10 years. According to our study, we did that study for 2 terms, 5 years, gap X 5 years. And it is definitely has come down. Our production has also gone up. We are producing about 320 million tons of food grains. Overall, if you take what is the food production in this country is as high as about 800 to 900 million tons. Put milk, include milk, egg, meat, everything, it is about 850 million tons right now. And out of which grains alone is, that is cereals and pulses alone, oilseeds contribute about 320 million tons. Fruits and vegetables is high, but the moisture content is also high. 450 is very high figure. But when you remove 85 to 90% moisture out, it comes down very low. Right? Now, we are largest producer of milk. We are almost, I think, a second largest producer of meat products, and fruits and vegetables, second largest producer. And food grain, of course, we are having expected cumulative average growth rate of 11%. It's really very good. And export is also growing very high, 23.3% at the last count. And our contribution from this industry is about 14% in this country. Now, what I thought, normal processing, as previous three speakers might have covered. So I took only the part which may not have been covered in the normal sense. That's why I started with non-thermal technologies. See, all your packaged food, fruit and vegetable processing, all are done with thermal technologies. You can have a canning, you can make sauce, ketchup, or your jam, jelly, most of the products. Most of your products, what you eat in the package, empty or puliyogara mix, everything is processed by thermal technologies. What is really non-thermal technologies? That means here, more or less, we avoid heating the food. Once you avoid heating the food, whatever God has created in that article, food article, it remains more or less same till it comes to your home. That is the technology which is really talk of the town today and throughout the world. And they want to involve in these technologies. There are certain technologies which are already emerged and are in vogue currently. Those also I have listed. Those are the technologies emerging, maybe down the line 5 years, it will be very common. And there are technologies under R&D development. If you see, what is really non-thermal technology? If you go by definition, processing without application of heat and keep the temperature of the foods as minimal as possible. That is the non-thermal technologies. What is really, why should I bother, spend more money on this? There must be certain advantages for this. Otherwise, why should I do? Anybody paying from their pocket, they have to get some benefit out of it. These are the advantages. If you see, is more energy efficient. See, the world requires lot of energy for processing food. See, some people were talking about drying in the morning. One of the costliest unit operation in a processing industry is drying. Since this country is endowed with a lot of sunshine, most parts of this country is endowed with a lot of sunshine, we don't realize the energy cost of sun, which is coming freely. If you are in a west, in the northern hemisphere in Russia or Canada, when the food is served in so nicely like in a five-star hotel food, you don't really taste very well. It doesn't taste well. I have gone to many hotels, you just cannot eat it unless you are used to it. Completely bland. And you cannot eat it. But we actually, when you see it, you thought that you will think that you already wanted to have it in your tummy. So you eat with your eyes. So when you have a very good color, flavor, aroma, you love that food. Non-thermal technology aids for that particular thing. Now you have a targeted function for certain microorganisms. You can target only salmonella. You can target only staphylococcus, which are all harmful in our food. That is possible with non-thermal processing technologies. We will see what are the technologies. I have not listed all those things because I thought 5 minutes or 10 minutes I cannot cover. So I reduced many of the things. And maintain bioactive compounds. See, suppose you have a pomegranate, very famous in Bagalkot and all those regions. Pomegranate juice, say you can, what boat it is? Like that is a very famous juice, Tropicana or tea boat, paper boat. These juices come from South Africa and other places. They are all thermally processed. There are many bioactive compounds in pomegranate juice which are lost during processing. If you try to keep whatever God has given in the food, that is fantastic. You need not go to the doctor many a time. That is the advantage of these non-thermal technologies. And then enhancing safety levels compared to thermal processed foods. Because thermal processed food you can do, mother also can do it, factory also can do it. For factory, there is an inspection. There are inspectors who FSSAI codes and other things. Even then you can, they will circumvent the laws. A person, processing in the roadside, what kind of hygiene you expect? But when you do it in hi-fi technologies, most of the things are taken care of. Because they use HACCP and then it is taken care of. See, there are, I told you, I have listed 3 groups of technologies in this non-thermal. First group comes about in irradiation. Many people have understand what this irradiation is all about. I have removed those slides, but basically the potato, onions and those spices for export, all are irradiated, right? Irradiation, your sprouting and all is avoided, right? Some of the surface microorganisms also can be killed in irradiation. Some of the products are permitted for irradiation, not all. Now even the floor also, I think recently it is permitted, I am not sure, and maybe next speakers may throw light on it from CFTRI. Even the floor is permitted. See, insect development all are avoided with irradiation. I am also working on irradiation, but on millets. Millets, hardly you can keep for 1 month. You will get muklu vasan in bartin teltarala, that rancidity. Those things can be avoided when you do some irradiation, certain level of treatment. Up to 1 kilo gray, you can treat these grains with the gamma rays, you can avoid it. And insect infestation completely can be avoided for almost an year. Millet storage is the biggest problem. Many of you don't know, millets with husk, it can store well. Millets once dehulled cannot store very well. So this kind of irradiation can be possible. There are both types, ionizing and non-ionizing radiation. I don't want to go deep into it, but imagine these technologies are available for processing. Then you have high pressure processing. Some of the juices, some of the food articles are high pressure processed. It has come into the market in Western countries some time back, but India is still in nascent stage. It's a very good technology where almost you can eliminate heat and to kill bacteria and other microorganisms, even the yeast and all. You can. I have some slide for that. And then you have an emerging technology almost emerged. That is a pulsed electric field and pulsed light. With light you can kill many microorganisms. With electric field, if a wire goes around the wire, you have an electric field. Now you go near to a high tension wire, brrrr sound bartade. Kelidra? The same technology is employed, but it is in a pulses, right? That I will come later. Carbon dioxide treatment, there are many things. Then you have many huddle approaches. Everything cannot be covered in this lecture. Then you have under development, plasma technology. Sonication, then oscillating magnetic field. These are all very new technologies. Western countries abuzz with these kind of research. Still it has to come to market. Maybe any time in 5 years down the line you may get equipment. This is a high pressure system. What really we do, you put, let us take an example of a juice. Say pomegranate juice or a pineapple juice. You normally when you handle, you will get some yeast, some of the salmonella, it comes actually from fecal matter. Our water is not that good. You Western countries, anywhere you can take the water and drink. This was the scenario about 30-40 years back when I was a young child. In India also we used to drink everywhere, water. Now, without bottle, there is no water, right? That is the situation now. No, you will get these kind of harmful bacteria, microbes. That can be killed without heat. Currently we are heating and killing it. We have to pasteurize it and then sterilize it to kill it. Now the technology is coming such a way that you put in a appropriate container, that are suitable packages, and then apply high pressure up to 1000 megapascals. This is a very high pressure, right? Anywhere from 400 to 600 is optimum, and up to 1000 people have gone. 1000 megapascal is too much pressure, right? In that pressure, these microbe cells are burst. They are burst and they are killed. That is the way it is processed. Now, many of the juices in Western countries are processed with high pressure processing, even some meat products also, and that technology is available. The duration of treatment is about anywhere from 1 minute to 20 minutes depending upon the product. If it is a liquid product, you can do it faster. If it is a solid product, it takes more time, right? Then this is how the things look like. The setup looks like, still it is in India, we have a few laboratories having this. IIT Kharagpur, there are some of the laboratories, even Safety, I do not know, they have HPP setup. In Tanjavur is there, Niftam Tanjavur is there. And these treatments, what are the really benefits for this? Shelf life is extended and increase in case of meat products, shellfish and all, no, you can extend the shelf life. Then pathogen, complete elimination is possible. Reduced sodium products, because sometimes we use salt for preservation, right? Those things are eliminated. Salt is a very good preservator. Now Huddle technology it comes under. And innovative fresh products you can be made. And then clean label products and convenience products. That is possible in HPP processing. Next technology is ozonation. This is actually partly little in some places it is used, especially is not in food processing also, at lower level. Washing level still we use ozone. Ozone, oxygen, when you pranavayu, oxygen is required for us. When it becomes O3, it becomes ozone, and it is a very good oxidizing agent. It can kill the microbes instantly. That is why we use in swimming pools. Swimming pool is a dirty place, very dirty place. They never change the water for 6 months. And every day everybody going with all kinds of disease, and you can imagine what will happen. Some of the people, there are many stories about swimming pool, but there is no time really. This ozone, what happens? We treat this while washing. In the fruits and vegetables, primary processing, you wash with ozonized water, or you can put the in ozone chamber also to eliminate the surface microorganisms. That is the ozonation treatment. How it is done all is explained. It is not necessary for this audience, but you can imagine there are many types of ozone generators also. Even common ozone generators also available. You see, ozone food washer, this is a commercially available one. Just put it in a bowl with the water, your fruits and vegetables, and that switch on that, plug it in, and it will give ozone, it will eliminate the bacteria. Maybe our coronavirus also will get eliminated. See, UVC, it can kill coronavirus. There are many machines have come out now. Especially these startup companies, they have come out with many such UV machines. UVC A, B, C. C actually kills coronavirus. And there are other ozonizers also. You can see air-based ozone stabilizers. They are using for fruits and vegetables. You can see that, I think this is a Western, I just forgot, some kind of a sherry, right? This is very commonly available, but I am telling the bigger part of it. In the industry also it is being used, and one example is our swimming pools. Pulse light, you see, the light, a very intense light, if you give it like this, with you see the NIR in short intense pulse, 1 microsecond, 1 second itself is small. 1 microsecond, that means 1 into 10 to the power of minus 6. 1 million ಅಲ್ಲಿ 10 ಲಕ್ಷದಲ್ಲಿ 1 ಸೆಕೆಂಡ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ 10 ಲಕ್ಷ ಒಂದು ಪಾರ್ಟ್ ಆ ಸೆಕೆಂಡ್ಗೆ ಲೈಟ್ ಕೊಡ್ತಾ ಇರ್ತಾರೆ, ರೈಟ್? ಅಪ್ ಟು ಮೇ ಬಿ 0.1 second, you can slightly longer pulse. If you give the very intense light, you can kill many microorganisms. And you can change some of the structural components also. Even some studies say even DNA of a cell can be modified with that. Still research is going on. And what it can, you can develop this about 1 to 20 pulses per second. It's given on the foot like this. Ultrasound, you hear only for pregnant ladies, ultrasound is done, and then to know the condition of the baby. But ultrasound can be used for processing, food processing. Lot of research is going on in this country also, because at very high frequencies, the burst of this sound, it creates bubbles, and it creates a temperature up to 5,000 degrees Celsius locally in that solution. 5,000 degrees Celsius, you cannot even imagine. That is not possible with normal technology, right? That is possible with ultrasound, and that we are trying to use it for food processing. right? There are many mechanisms and other things that we will see, if some question is comes and we will answer. Plasma technology. Many of you have seen welding. You have seen welding machine on the roadside and you will get a blue color light. This is ultraviolet light. That's why they use goggles to protect their eyes. That has a gas. There is basically an ionized gas. Ionized gas is produced during plasma. That is the fourth state of matter that can be used for processing food products. Right? That there are many research is still going on. And you can think of there is a scope for doing research as well as using it as a technology. Then you have a oscillating magnetism and magnetic, basically if you have a very powerful magnet, you can change, earlier like our coastal areas, that Sun Temple and all, they use a so powerful magnet, ships in the Bay of Bengal could not track their path. That's why they have broken down those temples. Right? So magnet has a very good effect. There is a magnetic treatment also for person. You can hold magnets at different places to activate your system. Similarly, this very oscillating magnetic field of high potential can be used for processing. All to reduce this microbial effect. And with that, and nanotechnology, some people have talked. Nanotechnology is the most important emerging field in food. Because food delivery, if you do in nanoparticle size, that is 1 to 100 nanometer size, that activation energy of that particles is very high. But the problem is it is still not accepted in the food. Even though naturally you will get some nanoparticles, it is still not accepted in the food. If you manufacture and put it, they will not permit. FSI, still it is under discussion, right? Because it can enter into your bloodstream through your cell. That is why for specific applications only still allow. That has a very good scope in future. Packaging. This is a very emerging few fields. Maybe about 10 years or 15 years back, how many of you bought your atta? You all went to Kirani shop and then milled it and came back. Now, without Ashirwad, no chapati in your home. That Ashirwad should be there, ITC Ashirwad should be there, right? See, for your information, I come from a post-harvest technology background. We created 16 agro-processing centers about 25 years back. At that time, no packaged food. Ragi flour, we started with 4 rupees ragi rate, 9 rupees we sold in a packet. At that time, no iodized salt in the packet, no flour in this packet. We started, it was very good hit in Bangalore. Somehow, because some political reason, we could not continue it, but Ashirwad people have copied. I'm just telling you a joke. They really actually came back afterwards, but that is a possibility. Everything is packaged. Once it's in the pack, we believe it is good. So there are many edible packages which is coming in the, as a new advances in food technology is edible packages, right? Water soluble packages. Then there are packages which can give you when the condition of the food. In the morning there was a presentation, it can tell you when it was packed, how old it was, is it spoiled or not, RFID indicator. It is there on the package itself. So with that, because our Bangalore, we developed many small gadgets for farmers. These are all the gadgets, and I will leave this presentation here. If somebody is interested, you can take. We are already selling 16 machinery, mainly for processing tamarind. Then small gadgets required for farmers like groundnut, decorticators. Then you have, of course, tamarind degulling, deseeding. Then I have a pepper, and then there are other small gadgets also, right? And these are the things we sell it in our US Bangalore at with reasonable profit only we are making and selling. We have given for license to private companies also for manufacture. And we have developed many technologies. In jackfruit, we are the pioneers. First people to bring out so many products. Kadamba also we have association, of course from Sirsi. And these are all already commercialized with factories. 2 companies are producing our products in Kerala. Right? Many products. And of course millets also we work. We have Center of Excellence on Millets in Bangalore. I was a man who started that. And now somebody is taken over. Many products, probably our madam will talk about, because they are millet people. They have developed many products. And with this, I thank you for the time, IMS, for giving me the opportunity. in this situation, I would not have come. If had I known that Omicron has come to Bangalore 1 week back, only now they are told. But still, I am very happy to come to VTU to speak in front of you. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, everybody.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, as sir requested to speak about millets, so you must have visited our stall here. So we have displayed many of the millet products. So basically, our university we have different varieties, and those varieties were also tested, and some processing, especially with regard to the rice, and then parboiled rice, then the availability of the nutrients from that. And then we all know that millets are very rich in some of the functional properties, especially the dietary fiber, which is very much essential for the management of diabetes. So several studies, even in Belgaum KLE, this diabetic center, we conducted studies. We have come out with a product that is the diabetes mix with the spice mix in it, and then with foxtail millet. And then the results were very encouraging. So he also now advises his patients to consume millets. So that type of work, lot of work we have done in our university. And then basically in the market what we get the millets, so they all are highly polished. So some 9 polishings, Alva sir? Yeah. The 9 polishings are done, and that is where all the nutraceutical value or the functional value of that is lost. So the minimum polishing, and that just now I think sir will enlighten about that. The drawback or the challenge there is the grains what are dehulled, they don't have shelf life. That is the challenge what is there, and the recovery of the grains, whole grains or after dehulling, that is also a challenge. So we are also trying to work on that, and then we have come out with several products. We have almost substituted rice and wheat. Even in case of bakery products, we have come out with 100% millet products. So this one is to retain all the nutrients. So whatever sir said now about the advanced technologies, the focus basically is to retain the nutrients and then see that the nutraceutical value, apart from nowadays, after COVID, everybody has become very conscious about what they eat, immunity boosting and such things. So one thing what I would like to say is every food has got one or the other nutraceutical value. How we process it and how we consume it is very important. So the advanced technology focus is to reduce salt, to reduce sugar, and to reduce oil. These 3 are the major ingredients which is ruling the food industry. And then we also know that in many of the countries today, they are imposing sugar tax. So, and then now even in India, FSSAI says we have to declare the salt percent that is there because of the lifestyle disorders. Consumption of processed food is very high, and then the consumption along with that, the sugar, salt and fat. These are the things which are going high. So they are imposing the sugar tax. So these advanced technologies, we are seeing that how best we can reduce and extend the shelf life. So that's what I wanted to add. And then for most of these millet processing products, ready to eat, ready to cook, all these things, we have technologies. So you can, if anybody wants that, you can contact our university. Through Vastrat sir also, they are propagating many things through their center. So any other questions I would be willing to answer.
Yes, sir. Good afternoon, everybody. I think I'll start where Madam left on millets. I think the major issue, though the focus is not on millets, I'll just take a few minutes because 2023 is declared International Year of Millets. I think there was a mention of 9 stages of polishing. In fact, there were 9 stages of de-husking. That was when we worked in Nasik, which was the cluster for milling millets. In 1993, we went there, and then when we looked at the cumbersome process of de-husking and polishing, we said that that is not the method to be used. So we actually replaced the multi-stage de-husking process to a 2-stage process, which is an impact sheller or a centrifugal sheller, and that unit was installed in that cluster, and today that is the state of the art. And we further worked on that and then came out with a rubber roll sheller which could actually de-husk it. But still the problem of separating the husk and the unhusked still remains. and polishing to a minimum extent is another issue where the shelf life becomes very tough. But we also have developed a method, a thermal method, where we could actually, the lipase could be stabilized and the shelf life could be extended even up to 6 months. In fact, there is an ongoing project from APIDA where we are trying to extend the shelf life to 1 year. I think this has been a great challenge, and we are working on the basics of lipids and their oxidation, etc. And that's what we'll be trying to do. And at CFTRI, by 2023, we would also be having a Center of Excellence on Millets, where we would be having 12 lines, dedicated lines working on millets. And we have about 40 technologies on millets. Most of them have been transferred to industries. Okay, that's just a part of the millet story. But this actually looked at the advances. It actually looked at maybe industry 4.0 like stuff in food industry. When it comes to millets, industry 1.0 itself is not completed. So food is like this. So on one stage you have 1.0 not completed, but in certain parts where robotics are in place. Yeah. Say for example, if you just look at the poultry, robotics are in place, pick and place and all those stuff are there. So it is a contradiction that you, in some places you don't have basic things. So when we started working on traditional foods and mechanizing traditional foods, that's still one of the major areas. We worked on a machine which would make dosas. In fact, today what I saw was one machine that was actually trying to cook, and when we started, it was not kind of an automation. We actually tried to mechanize. So we came out with a dosa making machine which would actually churn out 400 dosas per hour on a rotating tawa. So for that we had to build the batter also. So we came out with a total solution on that. In fact, the licensees of CFTRI have sold more than 2,000 such machines. In fact, in the early 2000s, that was reckoned as one of the top 10 technologies for that decade. And then we have come out with chapati making and many. I don't want to boast or tell too many things on that. We have about 300 technologies which have been transferred to more than 5,000 end users. So technologies, not the end users I'm talking. So that many we have done. But coming back to what is required on the few points that were only just made a mention of, I would just look at irradiation for flow is only allowed for exports. Okay, and HPP, I think there are a few places where HPP units are installed, high pressure processing units, and CFTRA developed a HPP machine of its own. It fabricated a machine of its own, which can go up to 700 megapascal. I think there is a requirement even to go up to 1000 megapascals. But there are a few companies which have already installed HPP. I think there is a company which has put the product on the market. So I think HPP has seen better days of marketing. Ozone, I think there was a mention of ozone. In fact, ozone is also used as a fumigant, and we have used it in food grains. We also used it in spices. In fact, ozone is also find a very, very good usage in water treatment, as it was told. And even in places where we have brackish waters, coloration, discoloration, ozone has made a big difference. And we've actually put up a pilot facility at CFTRI to demonstrate that as well. And then we also have developed a vegetable washer with ozonization, which can actually be used at domestic scale. These were a few points that I just wanted to add, because I also know probably Dr. Pallavi Muthu would also have given a much more detailed description, but for the time. I think apart from that, I think there was other things that the world is looking when it comes to food. People are now looking meat as not meat, and meat is not to be consumed because of the implications that it has on the environment. So people are moving away from meat, but they want to eat meat-like things. So a mock meat and alternate meat is what people are looking for today. That means that you need to have a meat-like texture, not just meat-like texture. We also need to have a meat-like nutrition. So this is the challenge. I think a lot of things are being done worldwide, and if you just look at the kind of papers published, the number of startups in that area, I think mock meat and utilization of vegetable meat comes first. I think this is an area where there's a lot of buzz, and we at CFTRA are also at it. I think maybe many of the institutes are working on it. Similarly is an area where again the cow's milk is also probably now not considered as completely vegetarian. So vegan is the order of the day, and then we are actually looking at the possibility of using some of these grains, millets, maybe cereals, oil seeds, and pulses and things like that to create milk-like products, which again should have the same kind of consistency and also the nutrition. Because food is not just food, food is nutrition, food is also everything, food is life. So we don't want to sacrifice, even for the sake of convenience, we don't want to sacrifice anything about food. So we need to get everything about food. In fact, all the 5 senses have to say, okay, then only we will take food, and then only we will say the food is good. So these are very, very great challenges that we have. And then the real challenge comes when it comes to precision nutrition. Since morning we are talking of precision agriculture. Real thing is precision nutrition, because each one's metabolism rate is different, each one's genomics are different, each one's microbiome is different. So now you need actually a food that is prescribed for you. Maybe you need to have some kind of a sensor which senses for each day what kind of lifestyle you are leading. Then you need to have that specific kind of nutrition. I think that is where we are coming to. And then all the nutraceuticals that Madam spoke about and all the spices that we are consuming, everything becomes so critical, and it has to be so accurately done so that everyone will have 100 years of life, not 100 years of life based on medicine, 100 years of real good life. Today most of us have a lot of good life, maybe 70 plus, but 70 tablets we eat. So I think that is not the way. We are dependent on tablets and medicine so much, but we need to move away from that and then have a natural life where we eat food the way we should eat and lead the life the way we should lead the life, and that is where the food will guide us. And then there are a lot of other things like the digitization, and the other major issue with food is the food waste utilization. There is a lot of waste generated during processing. There is a lot of waste generated while we eat the food also. So whether we can find use and convert them into any other products. In fact, the next thing that we are working on is the insect as food. I mean, many people would say raise eyebrows, but I think with the burgeoning population, I think we need to find ways of getting the nutrition that we are looking at, not just the animal sources or the vegetarian sources, but maybe we need to find other sources which are equally good and nutritious. I think I'll take a leave now. I think we can continue further. Yeah. Thank you so much.
That aspect, one thing you brought it is the vegan meat and milk. Well, this was going on for a couple of discussion, especially the dairy people when this came up for that. We'd like to know what exactly could be the livelihood effect on the dairy farmers.
I think that is a very, very relevant question. Any change in the way we eat things will actually have a lot of repercussions on the people who depend on it. Yeah. Switching over from one to other will definitely have implications, but I don't think, if you just look at India as such, I think most of them are non-vegetarians. Maybe 70% are non-vegetarians. Maybe many people don't eat it on Tuesday, many people don't eat it on Thursday. So there are only such restrictions. I think most of them are mixitarians. And many are vegetarians and vegetarians. So there is not going to be a sudden change overnight. But I think even these vegan meat or this thing will actually replace partially. Maybe there are a set of people who would try to do 100%, but there may be partial replacements as well. I think the essential idea is to reduce the meat consumption and by that reduce the negative effect on the environment. I think to that extent it will be good. But the question on milk is again the same answer, because I don't think there is nothing that is going to change overnight. Even though there was a lot of discussion, there was a lot of kind of agitation around Amul. I think to an extent people also have resorted to what is correct, what is right. I think that's the way India is going to be like.
Okay. Question to Dr. Muthu. Sir, you mentioned several things, the emerging technologies. So for the benefit of myself as well as the audience, probably they may have some questions. Among these technologies, kindly tell us which technology is it for every food processing or a particular kind of food the technology will go into? Like high pressure you said.
The technologies which I have shown here, not with great conviction that I have shown here. I am a down-to-earth person. I am a food processing engineer. I hardly eat any processed food. I never take a Pepsi. I process it, but I don't take it. I believe what God has given is the best. What the man could do is he can reduce that nutrition little bit or preserve it for a longer time. That's it. You know, the technologies which you have asked are not for immediate use by normal people. Normal people, there are many technologies. Lifelong I worked on that technologies. But today's topic is different. Right? I worked on rice, on instant rice. You put it in water, in 3 minutes you get cooked rice. I got a patent in IIT Kharagpur in 1993. I sold the technology also in that institute. But I never took this much amount of that rice. Because developing a technology for somebody is different. Developing a technology for Indian population is different.
That I think of all the technologies that were mentioned, as you said, there are question marks raised whether scale up is possible or things like that. But only high pressure processing technology has made a headway in the country. And Raw Pressery is a company which has already brought this product into the market. You'll probably see these products in airlines and things like that. But a normal juice that you would get at 15-20 rupees costs you somewhere around 200 rupees. That's all.
What is the status of this vacuum frying technology?
Yeah, vacuum frying technology. I had a question I did. In fact, we have also developed a vacuum fryer. Vacuum frying looks like it's got potential, and there are many such vacuum fryers already imported from China. So they are working already. And vacuum fryers can be used for maybe frying of vegetables, frying of even fruits. And the normal frying, if you do it in vacuum frying, the quality is better because under vacuum the temperature is lower and the oil uptake is also low. Looks like a technology that has future.
Used for traditional foods, sir. Like all the traditional foods what we have, like chakli, kodvale, for that also vacuum frying is found to be better with less oil absorption.
Now, what is your expectation if somebody comes to you, because I heard that you are going to set up an incubator, food processing also. What could be your expectations from the prospective food processing entrepreneurs?
That center is being created to cater to the micro entrepreneurs and all who wants to start. That's like an incubation center. Until they have confidence and then until they feel that their technology would work, they would be using our facilities. So basically that is the idea of what this PMFME project has. So CFTRI also has on banana. We have on fruit and vegetable processing, the beverage line, pulp and beverage, and then this dehydration line and soya nugget line. These three are the lines what we would be started by this year. So the expectation there is we want to train people and then we want people to come and use it. And then the farmers especially who have small land holdings or who have less produce, where it is very difficult for them to sell. For such people, we would like to extend the support. So that is the idea behind
Okay, thank you.
Only you are giving the technology or the license also?
License, everybody who is involved in the food business have to take FSSAI license or register, and then if depending on the business, then you have to go for licensing. So we don't give the license, we give the technology.
So
Any institute to do that, they will not give the license, you have to take because you would be the producer.
no, on our packaged in packets, now Tamdu guidance ide anta we can
That you can have it.
for how many years it will be valid?
That agreement now we are giving it for 3 years, madam.
3 years.
Yes.
Thank you.
Maybe all the three of us. As far as CFTRI is concerned, maybe for a similar kind of a technology, we hand over the technology. We actually give a dossier which gives the complete SOP, what needs to be done. We gave a demonstration and including the package. I think the entire technology means do-how, starting with the raw material to end product and packaging. And even with our technology, you can use that. The technology is from CFTRI or maybe from that. I think this is generally done. As far as we are concerned, our technology licensing duration is for 7 years.
7 years.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
No license. I think the license is license to produce, but license to sell is through FSSAI only.
Yes, I got
Yeah,
your
I think
point.
that's the
I
question.
got-
Yeah.
Definitely. And as a president, well, I am more of a enabler of the entrepreneurship rather than any of the processing. And any of you have got any idea or transfer of technology and take it forwards, either in terms of mentoring or in terms of training or in terms of financing, you are most welcome to contact us now or even afterwards. We have our own website, that is Krishik Agri Business Incubator. You can visit, all the details are there. So with that, I take this opportunity to thank the esteemed panel of speakers here, and as well as thank the organizers for giving us opportunity and address the August gathering and being part of a flagship program of Laghu Udyoga and IMF. Thank you very much. And